There's a moment in Frasier when Niles walks into the apartment, sees a tiny smudge of blood on his finger, and faints. No dialogue, no cutaway, just a symphony of silence, panic, and a perfect comedic rhythm. That scene and that show remind us that wit isn't about being fast, it's about being precise. When Frasier premiered in 1993, sitcoms were loud, canned laughter, zany hijinks. One-liners shouted from the other room while someone microwaved a burrito. Then came Frasier Crane, a radio psychiatrist with a taste for opera, sherry, psychoanalysis, and overthinking absolutely everything. A spin-off from Cheers, the show had every reason not to work. It was wordy, unapologetically intellectual, and centered on upper-middle-class neurotics. But it did work, spectacularly. For 11 seasons, Frasier turned elitist anxiety into emotional comedy. It trusted the audience to keep up and rewarded anyone who listened closely. Frasier's writers treated dialogue like music. Every line had rhythm, setups, callbacks, crescendos. Episodes were usually built like theater pieces. One misunderstanding, spiraling complications, a comedic collapse, and finally an elegant beat of irony or tenderness. It was farce, but elevated. Unlike many sitcoms of the time, Frasier didn't rely on pop culture references or shock humor. Its jokes lived in language, in timing, in cadence, and especially well-placed repetition. But underneath the sophistication was something deeply human: insecurity. Frasier wanted to be admired. Niles wanted to be understood. And the comedy came from how desperately they tried to hide those needs. Frasier worked because it wasn't afraid to sound smart, but it never forgot to feel silly. Timing is everything, and in Frasier, timing was character. Kelsey Grammer's delivery was like jazz, deliberate, confident, unpredictable. His pauses were not empty space, they were invitations. David Hyde Pierce brought physical comedy to a level rarely seen on television. He turned anxiety into elegance. Every twitch, every nervous inhale, every widened eye choreographed like ballet. And John Mahoney's Martin Crane grounded the entire show, while Frasier and Niles ascended into theatrical absurdity. Martin sat in his recliner, beer in hand, bringing the heart and the realism. Together, they formed a trio of balance: intellect, emotion, and warmth. Their chemistry made the Crane apartment feel like a stage, and we were the live audience. Beneath the sophistication, Frasier was about loneliness. It explored the distance between achievement and fulfillment, the gap between being admired and being understood. Here was a man who had everything: the career, the wealth, the status, and he still felt unseen. So the show asked, what's the point of refinement if no one shares it with you? Episodes about wine-tasting competitions or pretentious dinner parties weren't just jokes. They were metaphors, expressions of longing and the desire to belong. You didn't need to understand every opera reference. You just needed to recognize the feeling, that mixture of pride, vulnerability, and hope that makes us human. If timing is the heartbeat of comedy, Frasier mastered its rhythm. It proved that humor doesn't need to be loud to land. It can whisper, it can pause, it can fade dramatically in the middle of a spotless living room. The show teaches one truth: comedy is precision, comedy is empathy, and comedy is the courage to look foolish in the pursuit of grace. That's why Frasier still resonates. Beneath the pretension, it's not about being clever, it's about being real. Thanks for watching Sitcom Story Studio. If you've ever overanalyzed a moment, corrected someone's grammar, or felt misunderstood by your own family, Frasier understands you. Subscribe for more deep dives into the sitcoms that shaped how we think, feel, and laugh.